When it comes to the debate of who the most annoying and worst killer is in Outcome Memories, it's an easy question to answer. You can ask practically anybody, and every single one of them will say the exact same thing. It's 2011X. Yeah, it's not super fun to play with or against. So 2011X has a lot of issues, but I think this killer has some of the most potential in the game. I mean, he's pretty much the staple of all the XEs. 2011X is an icon. And he's really cool, and I think they could, just with a few tweaks, change this killer from, extremely unfun to an extremely fun killer to play against and play as. So, with a few small tweaks, this killer could be a lot better. But before we get to those, let's go over the things that he has that makes him really problematic and just not fun to play against and not super fun to play as. So, the first most important part of his kit is Invisibility. It's the only thing that makes this killer function at all, considering all of his other abilities are outright useless, or you could be punished heavily for using them. Or they're just straight up RNG, like God's Trickery. So Invisibility, he's had a lot of issues. Whenever, Point 2 came out, there was an issue for a little while where you literally just couldn't uninvis, which makes Invis complete garbage. It's like stunning yourself, with the upside being that you can go in front of somebody in about 3 business days, whenever it finally lets you get uninvised. But I'm pretty sure they fixed that issue. I haven't seen it in a while, at least, so I hope it's fixed. But regardless, 2011X is his staple of his kit. Invisibility is the only thing that makes this killer somewhat playable. And right now, Invisibility is such a strong move that arguably it makes him the best killer in the game because of how good of a movement tool it is. But next up is Charge. Literally completely useless except for finishing people off. So, I don't really know. Charge has a lot of issues, and I have an idea for it later on with how they could rework this killer with just a few small tweaks, making him 10 times better and making Charge 10 times better. But as for right now, it's an extremely low damaging move that practically stuns you when you grab somebody, because if you grab someone like Metal Sonic, congratulations, you could sit there for about 30 seconds, do 50 of his health, and he could just heal it all back. So right now, Charge is complete garbage, and can definitely be changed to be a lot better than just a finisher move, because even as a finisher move, it only works like 2% of the time. Grabbing an opponent that's 15 health or less only works 2% of the time, even though that's its main purpose. So, Charge, it needs an overhaul, and it definitely needs to get that bug fixed, where survivors can just slip out of your grasp. But on to his next 50-50 movement tool, God's Trickery. It either teleports you to the direct survivor you want every single time, or it will proceed to teleport you to the Eggman that's running an infinite loop 100% of the time. I don't really mind the RNG factor of this, as I feel like God's Trickery would be too OP if you could just select who you wanted it on. But I feel like it'd be a lot better if they made it so that whenever you have to jump or dodge it, you can't dodge 66% of them by just standing still and jumping. If they made it so that whenever you see the black one, you have to stand still and jump, and if you jump whenever you see the blue one, it damages you, that would make it at least a little bit more difficult. They could possibly add a new one too, where you have to be moving and jump at the same time, spicing it up a little bit, but overall, God's Trickery should stay partially the same, with them just fixing that one bug where you could just stand still and jump to avoid 66% of the God's Trickeries that you come across. But last but not least is arguably most flawed move, Rage Mode. It's extremely overpowered, and you get it by losing. That's right, you get it by losing. By quite literally getting stunned, and by playing badly, you get it. Which means that for not getting rewarded for playing well, it's kind of weird. It doesn't make any sense, but I feel like since this is the starter killer after all, it makes a little bit of sense, but I feel like there's most definitely a way to implement stuns, charging the Rage Meter, and possibly other moves as well. So the first thing I would do to fix 2011X would be fixing his passive, the Rage Meter. It's right now, it really makes no sense at all, with you getting stunned being the only way to charge it. So why don't we make that not the only way to charge it? I wouldn't remove getting stunned charging it, because you gotta remember, this is the starter killer. And I feel like for starter players, it should be a crutch. It should be something that they can rely on, because this is one of their first times playing the game and playing killer, so Rage Mode is kind of a bailout for those players. But as for more veteran players, who don't really want to get stunned as much, we have alternative ways to charge it, such as following survivors and pursuing chase with them. Whenever a survivor is highlighted on the right side, meaning they're in chase, the meter gradually charges, very slowly. Landing hits also charges it. But I think the best way to charge it would be using the charge. Since the charge is very weak right now, you'd be trading off the possible damage you could do to charge your Rage Meter later on. So hitting charges on high HP survivors would actually be worth it, because you'd be charging your Rage Meter. and you can use that rage meter for later, possibly getting that time back whenever you know you get a minute and 30 seconds of extra time. So it would make charge a lot better, as well as if they just straight up fix the charge bug. And for some of his other moves, like dodge trickery, what I would do is I would add one more that makes it so that you have to jump when you're moving. So it's kind of like jumping and standing still, or just standing still, or just moving. That way, if you mess up one of those actions, you would take the damage from it. Right now, God's Trickery is a very easy move to dodge, with 66% of it, like I said earlier, being able to be dodged by literally 2 inputs. Or just one, really, just standing still and pressing space. Which is kind of dumb, especially because, 2011X is the master of trickery, and if you can just avoid that by standing still and jumping 66% of the time, then that's kind of dumb. But regardless, I think they could easily fix 2011X. All they gotta do is just re-implement the rage meter and, maybe fix up a few of the bugs and gimmicks he has. Like invisibility working the way it does. Maybe I would make it so that it has a little bit of a longer cooldown. I don't know why invisibility's cooldown got nerfed, but, to be honest, alright, I don't know why it got buffed, not nerfed. But I would, nerf it with the release of these new things coming out. Of course, a reworked rage meter would be a good thing for 2011X. Definitely not a nerf. So maybe nerfing invisibility to compensate one of his best moves would possibly make this a little bit more fair, since 2011X is already one of the best killers, if not the best killer in the game, just because of invisibility. I feel like maybe an invisibility nerf is a little in play. But it does work well with his trickery and his ambush playstyle, which is really fun. Overall, 2011X is a great rushdown killer and a great ambush killer, and I like playing him. Even in the flawed state he's in, I feel like with a few more changes, he could be a lot more fun to play against and to play as. Anyways, that's my take on 2011X, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.